everybody. Happy Friday. Marlene, aka Snow Gardener 307, here for Back to the Basics. And you guys, today is not going to disappoint. Not only are we going to review Sharla's budget from last week, from the end of September, but we're also going to lay it all on the line for you guys today. We're going to walk through her entire October budget plan along with a debt update. So let's go ahead and hop into this.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
Let's go ahead and talk about Sharla's last budget for September. So this is the last paychecks that they got in September. This was a double paycheck for Sharla and her husband. If you are not familiar with Sharla's story, I encourage you to go back a couple months and take a look at where Sharla started. Sharla was buried deep in a hole with buy now, pay laters. She was behind on her car payment. They were behind on their cell phone and internet bill payment, and they were overspending. Such a typical thing in our country today. So we're going to talk about September 26th. I'm going to go ahead and put it up right here. You guys know the drill. I'll look at the sheet right here, and let's talk about what we've got. The nice thing about this paycheck cycle was that both paychecks were higher than they were supposed to be. Whew, such a relief to see that. I know Sharla has been ill, has lost some time at work, and so her checks have gotten lower. So they actually had over $500 extra in these 2 weeks, and they did put it to use for some things that they needed to get. So as you look at the bill payments right there, you're going to see they're exactly what they were scheduled. Wayfair number 1, right? That's every single week for that buy now, pay later. And then we've got money going towards the mortgage. We've got auto insurance, money going towards her car payment. And then you'll notice she wrote husband's work boots, $378, sun oil change, $56, and sun brakes, $178. So they had 3 big expenditures. However, they were able to cash flow these. These didn't go on credit cards, so that is a win there. And for anybody saying that, oh, you could spend less money on some of those items, I can tell you this. For a man that works on his feet all of the time and works long hours, it's worth every penny to get those good work boots, because I know Mr. Snow Gardener throws some mad cash at the clothing he wears at work as well as the boots, especially with the weather extremes and stuff. So we spent $1,593.80 instead of $981.80. So then we're going to go ahead and roll on down, right? We're going to look at all of the envelope / digital. So down here, one thing I want you to notice is that Sharla has put that they are all exactly what was budgeted. But I also want you to notice at the bottom, it says all rollover used towards sinking funds. So for example, Sharla's taking $125 for grocery money. If she doesn't spend the whole $125, so maybe she only spends $100, then she is taking $25 and putting that into savings challenges, which are being saved for sinking funds. So I love that she started doing this. I know for myself that sinking funds, savings challenges, games, stuff like that help keep me motivated, and they help keep me on the right path. So we've got $330 that is budgeted, and that is for a 2 paychecks. So $330 out of those paychecks go to hubby, groceries, household, pets, her son, Sharla's spending, haircuts, gas, entertainment, and miscellaneous. So we've added quite a few different savings into this, quite a few different weekly expenditures, I guess you would say, compared to when we first started. We had cut it back, and now they've kind of started putting a little bit more money here and there. And this is so important because you don't want to undercut yourself too much to where all of a sudden you start putting stuff on credit cards. All right, so that left $542.62 instead of $607.07. So they are $60 or so over budget at this point as far as the budget plan goes, but we know the budget plan is just a rough draft, right? Rough draft. So no money going into sinking funds directly out of the check. And so super excited, you guys. Take a look at the debt. So Wayfair number 1, the plan was to pay $460 towards Wayfair number 1. Sharla paid $477.46. And do you see the sticker she put right there? That's right, you guys. The last buy now, pay later is finally paid off. What a huge sigh of relief for Charlotte and her family. They have clawed their way, they have dug their way out of the hole that they dug themselves into with the buy now, pay later. So now they can focus just on debt. And so down below, you'll see that what was left over was $50 to go into an emergency fund. So at the end of September, they have $780 in emergency fund. When we started, they had nothing, right? Or did she have some? She might have had some and we used it towards bills and stuff. But right now, $780. They have paid all of the buy now, pay laters off. And I talked about how many buy now, pay laters they had. I'm looking in my stack of papers right here to see if I have that sheet printed. I don't think I do, but it was a huge list, you guys, a huge list. So a huge month for Sharla. And I know several of the weeks she was like, it's a boring week. It's a boring week. But guess what? Boring in finances is a good thing. That means you are getting your budget stabilized. That means you are taking little tiny baby steps towards your goals and ending up where you want to go. For me, you guys, that's been my entire goal for my budget. And that's why I say every dollar counts, because if you can stabilize yourself and you've got a few extra dollars, that's how you start building the momentum and you continue working on that. So a great month for Sharla and her family. We are on track. And now I am so excited to talk to you guys about the budget plan. And I'm going to let you guys see exactly what I sent to Sharla for each week for her budget. We're going to talk about her debt. And let's see, let's go ahead and grab her debt sheet out for me to reference. I'm going to put it up on the sheet for you guys. I have created some new trackers, and this was inspired by Sharla and another creator. And I created my own version, and I am super excited about this. So I'm going to put it up on the screen right here. So this is my debt snowball tracker. Now you can put 6 debts on one page. So Sharla has 2 pages of these. And we're going to talk about where they started, where they're at now. And of course, we're talking about a June balance is where we're starting. So we have been working together July, August, and September. So 3 months. But I do want to bring it to your guys' attention that none of these debts have been a main priority until now. We were not technically doing a debt snowball because we were taking care of all the buy now, pay laters. The Wayfair, while it may have had a lower balance than some of these, had such high interest and fees and everything that is what Sharla wanted to do. And that's actually what I recommended doing. So let's talk about it. We have got 12 accounts here that are listed. And this is where the debt snowball is going to start. There is one exception to the debt snowball, and I'll tell you guys about it. And that's the thing, you guys, if you can come up with a plan that works for you, it is okay if it's not exactly what somebody else recommends. So kind of the Dave Ramsey. You guys hear me talk about, yes, I believe in the Dave Ramsey plan, but I don't follow it 100%. So I date the Dave Ramsey plan, but I'm not married to it. And I believe Sharla is the same way. So the first credit card that we are going to tackle, well, I say we, I'm not the one paying it, that Sharla and her husband are going to tackle is the Capital One Quicksilver. So I want you to notice that in June, the balance that was written down was $226.16. We are now at $299.25. So a payment has been made every month since then. And some of this is probably interest because you guys, oftentimes that minimum payment doesn't even cover the interest. Now, Sharla was not tracking interest or purchases on these amounts. So if you look at the form, the way I've got the form, if you look, it says June and it has a balance. And up at the top of the column, you see it says Capital One Quicksilver. Then for July, it has another balance and it has plus INT/perch. So that's plus any interest or purchases. Then you've got minus payment. Then you've got a new balance. Now, the only time that you need to rewrite in the balance, unless you want to fill in every line, is if something changed from the time that you closed out the account and it flipped over. Something weird, right? Because anything that you added to it or took away is going to be below it. But I did put that line in there because I know some people want the start of the month, end of the month in one little line there. So we started at $226.16. We're now at $299.27. Then we look at Capital One Cabela's. Now Cabela's shows that it has went down until this last month. So, well, it went up, then down, then back up. So $291.68 is where we started at with Cabela's. We're now at $304.98. So it has went up. Sharla did let me know that her husband does use the Capital One Cabela's card for items when he's at work, and he uses his per diem to pay that off fully. That is exactly what my husband does. So not with the Cabela's card, but with a different card. So I certainly cannot sit here and go, oh, you guys shouldn't be doing that, because that's exactly what we do. And as long as it's paid off every single month and you're diligent with doing that, then it's not going to harm anybody. So we're at $304.98 for that one. So up for that one. Credit One, number one, we started at $243.77. Now we're at $307.94. So yet again, another card that has went up. Could be interest, could be a new charge that came through. I do not have the particulars on this, and I am not here to judge Charlotte and her family for their debt, for any of the decisions they make, because that is not what we do here. We're not about judgment. We're about taking a realistic look and being honest with ourselves and with everybody else about the choices we've made. I have made horrible financial decisions in my life. However, I have learned from these decisions, and that is the most important thing. Then we've got Amazon. And Amazon, I know some purchases had to have happened on this one because we started at $296. We are now at $378. And you also look, there was a $100 payment made in September. So I have a feeling maybe some household or some pet items or something like that were purchased. Because unless there was a late fee, but there shouldn't have been. But that's neither here nor there. And then we see Chase Capital or Chase credit card. It started at $504.73. We are now down to $496.87. We've got Credit One number two, started at $456.40. We are at $509.49. So that is another one that has went up. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our second page of debt on here. We've got Capital One Kohl's card. It started at $695.75. And you notice that it was down to $624.15, down to $610.97. Now it's up to $685.88. And of course, these are not my numbers. They are Sharla's numbers. Maybe there's some mix-ups there. But this is where we're starting at. Like I said, no judgment whatsoever. We see the Merit card. And this is one that we see a general progression down, which is a good thing. We see $832.21, then $807.28, $779.46, and $751.23. So that card is going down. That's always good news. And then we see the Capital One Platinum. This is another one that started at $727.59 and then went down, then went up, then went down. And so it's at $754.63. Care Credit. I do remember Sharla telling me about this, that something else hit the account. And sorry, the light is doing weird things outside. So I see my face going in and out. I apologize. I can't help the weather outside. But Care Credit, so something did get charged. So it was at $1,032.87. It is now at $1,118.25. And then we've got Sunbit Dental. It was at $589.31. It's now at $335.87. Sunbit Dental is towards the end of the list because this one is not actually in our debt snowball plan. The reason why is this one is at 0% interest. Now, I know in a debt snowball, you don't take into consideration the interest. However, we have some cards with some pretty high interest that are very impactful at the beginning. And if you look, this is at $335.87. The payment every single month is $84.48. So they're just going to keep paying on that. And then very last is her son's car. So you see here we started at $2,400 and now we're down to $1,800. This is just from a family member. So it is not in the debt snowball either, even though it would be all the way at the end if it was, because it is their highest debt. Now I know Sharla is super nervous about their debt and where they're starting at. You know, I look at my life experience and I look at my debt journey and I tell Sharla, that's nothing. You're looking at the woman who had almost $50,000 in credit card debt by herself. So let's add this up really quick to see where she's actually at right now with her credit card debt. And we're going to go ahead and include her son's car, but we are not going to include Sharla's car in this. She did have a balance on one of her sheets, but for me, it's like, let's take care of all of these debts first. Then you can start worrying about your vehicle. So that is those 6. Let me keep adding up here. And truly, the amounts on these cards are definitely manageable. The exciting thing is when you do have small amounts, it's very doable and you can get it done very, very quickly in the grand schemes of a debt plan. Oops. Whew, that would have been bad. I added 1 extra number. And I should have done this before the video, but I didn't. Okay, so with her son's car and all of the cards that we just looked at, we're looking at $7,742.55. So a little bit more than $7,500, right? She can do it. So the debt plan is as I showed you guys. So Capital One Quicksilver's first, then Cabela's, then Credit One number 1. I have no idea what the interest rates are on these cards, truly. She gave them to me like back when we first started, but for a debt snowball, you don't worry about that. You start at the bottom and then you start building up that debt snowball. And of course for Sharla, you know, if she pays off the Capital One Quicksilver card, that $25 payment needs to be added to the Capital One Cabela's and so on until you get a nice large payment. All right, so that is where the debt is sitting right now. And that is, you know, let's peel that Band-Aid off. Let's look at where we were and where we're at now. And they have come a huge ways already in just 3 months. So let's go ahead and talk about October. Like I said, I'm super excited. These are all just budget suggestions. This is what I have sent to Sharla about her finances and what I suggest. And most of the time, Sharla does look at my suggestions. And there's a few times that she'll tweak it and go, okay, I want to do this instead. It's Sharla's budget, you guys. That is her right to do whatever. I do not take offense whatsoever. Speaking of working with other people on budgets, I have a spot for one family or one person for a scholarship. So this means that I will work with you on a monthly basis for free. So if you are interested in getting some budget help, I am going to put the details down below on how you can submit your info to me to be considered for this scholarship. If you need some help, you want somebody to help work with you, and you can't imagine paying somebody to do it, this is your opportunity right now. This is my way of paying back and giving back, because I know that this community has allowed me to do so much that I want to give some back. And right now, Sharla's family is technically on a scholarship. She paid for her very first month. And then because I believed in Sharla and because I wanted to give back to her and her family, I have now been helping them free of charge. I'm excited to offer it to another family. Like I said, the details will be down below. All right, so the good news about October is some people, I think, call it a miracle month, a happy month. They've got 5 Fridays and they get paid every single Friday. Her husband gets paid every Friday. Sharla gets paid every other Friday. The weeks that Sharla doesn't have pay, there is child support in there. So we've got 5 budget sheets to go through. So I'm going to put each budget sheet up here. We're going to talk about every budget before it happens. So now you guys are going to know this is what possibilities are. Now, when I was talking to Sharla about these possibilities, we talked about if everything aligns, right? If every paycheck is how much it's supposed to be, at least, or more, if no unexpected expenditures come up, if, you know, things don't happen. So this is in a best case scenario. So we're going to start off with October 3rd right here. You'll see that the paycheck amounts are all the same because, of course, I don't know exactly what their paychecks are going to be, but this is how you budget. And then we've got the bills right here. We've got water, Capital One Platinum, Capital One Cabela's, Care Credit, Son's car payment, more money towards Sharla's car payment for bills of $943. That leaves us with $457.87. Now, when we drop down into their spending categories, and Sharla is using cash for these, I want to bring your guys' attention to a couple things. Sharla talked to me and she said, okay, This last month with the amounts we had, it was not enough for pets and it wasn't enough for entertainment. So for pets, we're talking pet food, we're talking litter, we're talking all of those kinds of things. So we added $20 extra to that category to go up to $45 a week for pets. The other category that they were struggling with was entertainment. And when I'm talking about entertainment, I'm not talking about them going to the movies. I'm not talking about them going out to eat or anything. I'm talking about sports activities for their children along with their immediate family. So their son is a football player, so they have to pay to get into the games, get a bottle of water because they're not allowed to bring anything in. And then there are some nieces and nephews that they're going to be watched doing other things. So that is what I'm talking about there. And again, this is Sharla and her husband's budget. So this is their choice, but we want to set them up to be successful. So for a small week, as I call it, which is the paycheck child support, the new amount that's going to be anticipated for their spending is $275 a week. Then we roll on over to the sinking funds. You see, I've still got everything listed that has been there for the past month. Everything's at zero, except for I added a line at the bottom that says holidays. Sharla told me, she's like, I need some money for holidays. I need some money for Thanksgiving. We are having Thanksgiving. I need money to buy food and such. And I need money for Christmas. So we talked about a goal. And I said, well, how much do you need for Thanksgiving? And of course, sometimes that's hard to know, right? So Sharla threw out the amount $300. I need $300 for Thanksgiving. So that was the plan. And then I said, how much do you want for Christmas? And she said $1,000 to $1,200 would be amazing for Christmas. But if I can't afford it, I can't afford it. Another thing that Sharla put in there is that she is going to utilize, when her husband has extra money on his paycheck, she's going to utilize that to put towards the Christmas budget. And I truly think she's going to have to get that, some extra that way in order to stay on track to become debt free, and also to ensure that they don't end up charging those credit cards again to buy Christmas, right? Because we don't want to do that. We don't want to take one step forward and 3 steps back. And oftentimes that's what happens in our life. So $50 for holidays on this check right here. You see nothing for debt snowball on this paycheck right here, but you do see $130 going to their emergency fund, which brings their emergency fund up to $910. So we're getting close for that. We are going for the baby emergency fund that Dave Ramsey recommends. That's just a starter fund, right? We know that ain't covering a lot of things, but it's better than what a lot of people have, right? You got to take baby steps. Now we are going to go ahead and I have 2 of the same budget printed out. Uh-oh. Did I print out the wrong one? Do I have all of the ones I need to have? We might have to pause the video and let me print another one out. I don't see the 1031. Uh-oh. Now I'm throwing stuff on the floor. All right, let's go through the ones we do have. We do have 10, 10, 1017, and 1024 sitting on my lap. I'll look through the pile in just a second. You guys know I try to keep these as unedited as possible. This is what it is. I am who I am. All right, oops, let me scooch over so there's enough room over here. So budget 1010, so October 10th. And an early happy anniversary to my friends Corey and Wesley. They got married 10-10-10. They probably aren't watching this, but anyway. All right, so paycheck, double paychecks, right? And so you'll see we've got bills here. We've got Capital One Quicksilver, Hulu, electricity, AT&T, and car. And that finalizes out her car payment. So bills are $1,301.86. We've got $612.01 rolling on down. And then here we see we have a lot more categories. On the double paycheck weeks, we have a lot more expenses going out. So almost $100 more is going out in spending. So we've got $370. All the categories stayed the same except for the 2 that I brought up already. So pets went up by 20 and entertainment went up by 20. So $40 difference between last month's budget. So we've got that. So $370, that leaves us with $242.01. We roll on over to the other side. You'll see holidays, right? So we now have $100 in holidays. And then that leaves us $192.01. You scroll down, you see debt snowball. That's right, you guys. We are starting week 2 of October. We are officially starting with the debt snowball. Debt snowball is, of course, going to snowball things together, but it's also going to be taking all the money and pushing it at one debt. So Capital One Quicksilver, $100 extra to Capital One Quicksilver, giving the Quicksilver a balance of $174.22. Now, when I take these balances, I just go from the balance that Sharla gave me. I don't know when interest is going to hit this account. I don't know any of that stuff. So just keep in mind that some of my numbers throughout the month might not be exactly right. So $100, that leaves us $92.01. We go down to the bottom section, you guys, and we add $90 more to our emergency fund, giving them the baby emergency fund of $1,000. That leaves us $2.01 as a rollover. And I'm not as worried about leaving as much money in there as a rollover, because she does have her little miscellaneous fund as well that gives her a little bit more. So week 2 of October, we have filled our emergency fund and we are starting to work on our debt snowball, as well as having a little bit more money to spend in our categories and starting to save for the holidays. So you guys, these are some big steps that we're making. So October 17th, this is one of their small weeks. So the bills, we've got 3 credit cards at the top, Merrick, Chase, and Amazon. And we're starting to work on that November budget, or that November mortgage. Sorry, November budget. That November mortgage. And of course, right here, we scroll on down, we see the same expenditure. So we've got $275 because it's a small week, leaving us $324.87 to go up to the other side. And then you guys, we went ahead and threw a lot of money at the holiday fund, because we know that this is something that's really important to Sharla. So I recommended $175 for the emergency fund for this week. That's quite a bit, right? So that's $275. So we're almost to the Thanksgiving amount. Now, Sharla might decide, you know what, Marlene, no, I don't want to do that. I'm going to change things up. That's A-okay, right? We'll see what she does throughout the month. And so $175 to holidays. That gives us $149.87 back. And we are going to go ahead and put $144.22 to our debt snowball for Capital One, leaving a balance of $30. When I originally prepared this budget, it was before the extra money was added in. And so truly, when I first figured this budget, this would have been paid off here. So maybe Sharla's going to be like, I'm going to put $145 towards our holidays and we're going to pay that off. That's up to her, right? This is just what I have here. So a balance of $30, and we have $5.65 for the rollover. So again, not a large amount. And I'm pretty sure Sharla's leaving some money in the bank, because unlike me, I don't ever want my account to be at zero, right? But she's also maybe taking a couple dollars and putting it towards savings challenges, which are going to her sinking funds. All right, so now we've got October 24th, 2025. So we're week 4 budget of October. This is a bigger budget because this is a double paycheck. And so we've got 3 credit cards, credit one, number 1, credit one, number 2, Kohl's, and we have got a large mortgage payment. The mortgage is a total of $1,800. So between last week and this week, we are paying the November budget. Why do I keep saying November budget? We are paying the November mortgage in full, a full week ahead, which is a great place to be. So bills are $1,190. This leaves them with $723.87. You see that we've got the same $370 for our spending. And if you scroll over to holidays on the other side for the sinking funds, you'll see that I've added $90 into this. And then if you look, we've got Quicksilver. We're paying that off, right, you guys? Check. First credit card paid off. And then you'll see I've got Capital One Cabela's, a payment of $227.98, leaving a balance of just $50 and $5.89 left over there. So, you guys know what's going to happen this next one. All right, so let's see. Can Marlene find the last budget sheet? Is it in here, or did I print the other one twice and not print the one that I needed? Guess what? I printed the one I didn't need. So let me go ahead and print that one, or even just look at it so that we can talk about it. Do, 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 do. Come on, printer. Come to life. Oh, the sun is going to come in and shine on us. Shine, 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 shine. I got it, you guys. If the printer keeps making noises, I'm sorry. It will just start making noises after I get done. So we have got the last paycheck of the month. Oops, let me scoot over here. Trying to stay out of the light. The light's starting to come in. And it is Halloween, which is my daughter's birthday. Happy birthday, Julia, early. All right, so paycheck to paycheck budget, number 5 of October, which really helps. And so this is a small one. We have got Sunbit, Netflix, Progressive, Water, and Sun's Car. So bills are $845. This is a $275 spending money a week. So that leaves only $280.87. We're going to go ahead and put $75 towards holidays. And we are going to go ahead and pay that Capital One Cabela's card off. That's 2 cards paid off. And we are going to put $150 towards the Credit One number 1, leaving it with a balance of $127.94. So a less than half. So 2.5 credit cards paid off. And I know I told Sharla the amount for the holidays, but I can't remember. So we've got 75 plus 90. If I could use my calculator, we'd be doing better. Plus 175 plus 50 and 50. So plus 100. So we're at $440 for holidays. She wanted $300 for Thanksgiving. That gives her $140 towards Christmas, with all of November and part of December, right, to get that Christmas money. So it's still doable, still working on the debt payment, the debt payoff, all of the things and stuff. To close out today's video, I want to talk about what my recommendations for Sharla are. We've talked about this multiple times. I've given her a paycheck to paycheck budget. I've given her a budget plan. I've given her a debt snowball tracker. I've given her weekly check-in, which she is using, you guys. Oh, we need to talk about sinking funds too. Where is her sinking funds? Let's share that with you guys. Okay. I'm not going to share the actual paper with you, but I'm going to give you guys a total. But my recommendations, I told her that the first recommendation for her first goal would be to pay all bills on time and catch up on all bills. Well, we've done that, you guys. This month in October will be the last month that she has a higher than normal car payment, and she'll officially be caught up. That's like in and of itself. I know Sharla felt like she was drowning. She didn't know how she was going to catch up on those. She has done it. She has caught up on everything. And of course, all the buy now, pay laters are officially gone. And then the emergency fund, right? $1,000. Now, Sharla has went back and forth where it was like, okay, let's get the emergency fund. And then it was like, I want to get these wayfares paid for. Then it was like, oh, I need an emergency fund. And then it was back to wayfares. And that's okay, you guys. Life happens. Things change. Things happen in our budget. Some things are out of our control and some things are in our control. And our budget plan is 100% in our control. And then the next thing was to start debt snowball and to start sinking funds. So she's already started her debt snowball. She's already started her sinking funds, and she's continuing on them. On here, I put credit card debt order. Number 1, the first 6 that we're doing is that first 6 page. So we're going to do Capital One Quicksilver, Capital One Cabela's, Credit One number 1, Amazon credit card, Chase credit card, and Credit One number 2. Those are the first 6 debts in order that she is going to start paying off. So if this month goes perfect as all perfect, she's going to have 2 less credit card bills, and she's going to be halfway to paying another one off. She's going to have $440 towards her goals for spending for Thanksgiving and Christmas. She also has extra money throughout the month, each week, to try to make ends meet. So let's talk about this. So right now, like I said, I'm not going to share this sheet with you just because I don't know if she wants this sheet up there. But what I am going to tell you is that Sharla supplied a sheet for me, and it is all of her savings challenges that she's been working on, and it's her end of month savings for September. And she is saving for things such as her son's Those Yorkies keep interrupting me. She is saving for things such as her son's graduation, school, emergency fund, household, car expenses, family, health, birthday, Christmas. This one says mama, hubby, activities, clothing, emergency fund, car registrations, household, pets, current holiday, health. So she's got some that are, she's got some categories that have a couple savings challenges, right? So you think about all of those things I just listed off. And a lot of those things are in most of our lives. Obviously, I don't have kids in school anymore, so I don't have that expense. I don't have a graduation. But you guys, I have a grandbaby that's going to be born, right? So I've got something completely different, right, in my life. So even though I'm an empty nester, there are different expenses that I'm going to have. And of course, most of us have birthdays and holidays if we celebrate that kind of stuff. Home emergency fund, clothing, right? All of that kind of stuff. And so I'm excited to tell you guys that I didn't go through and add all of these up, but she has a total down at the bottom that she has saved $403 in these. How amazing is that? So truly, if something happened and she needed money, this is basically some extra money that she could use. So congratulations to Sharla for an amazing September, even though she said it was a boring month. I am so excited that she is learning her own budget. She is getting good habits. Her husband and her boys are all on board with her. They're understanding what they can do with the money that they make and the situation that they're in. All right, you guys, that's it for this week's Back to the Basics. Next week, we'll check in with Sharla. We'll see how the first week of October went. And we will also talk about something that affects some of you guys, but maybe not others. And that is mortgages. All right, you guys, until I see you guys next time, remember to keep on smiling. Bye, everybody.
Step 1, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4,